was rainy and the kind of cold that seeps into bones, and he hadn't eaten since dawn. The city hummed around him, traffic, neon signs flickering, the sharp screech of brakes. But inside the hospital, everything was still. Ray leaned back in the donor chair, arm outstretched, pale fingers gripping the stress ball. His construction vest still hung from his shoulders, dust clinging to its seams. Sweat beaded at his temples, not from fear, but from fatigue. "You okay?" the nurse asked, tapping the blood bag gently. He nodded once. "Just don't want to be late back to site. Basel doc pay." Her smile was kind, but tired. She tucked a strand of hair under her cap and pressed the cotton against his arm. Most people don't show up during their lunch break to donate. Ray didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the peeling ceiling tiles above. Blinking slowly, in his worn wallet was a coupon for $2 coffee and a photo of his daughter with a toothy grin. Missing front teeth, outside. Thunder rolled. A second nurse came over, clipboard in hand. "You forgot to write your name." He reached for the pen, then paused. Slowly, he scratched 3 letters. RLD, the nurse raised an eyebrow. "No full name." "Just initials," Ray said. "Don't matter who gave it, just that someone did." She looked at him. Then at the blood bag filling steadily with red. "You just saved someone's life," she whispered. Ray exhaled, stood, and tucked his calloused hands into his jacket pockets. He didn't know who it was. Didn't ask, didn't need to. He was already late, and there was still dinner to figure out. The apartment door creaked like it carried its own exhaustion. Ray stepped in, careful not to wake the neighbors with the groan of old hinges. Dim yellow light flickered from the ceiling fan overhead. The air smelled of boiled rice and rusted pipes. In the corner, curled on a second-hand couch, patched with tape and dreams, was Lily, 7 years old and full of quiet questions. Her hair was tied in lopsided braids. One slipper missing. She looked up from her sketchpad. "Hey, Daddy," she said softly. "You okay?" He nodded, kicking off his mud-caked boots. "Long day." Lily sat up. "Did you see the piano today?" Ray froze, halfway to the fridge. "What piano, sweetheart?" "The one at school. Miss Jenkins let us touch it. Not play, just touch." Ray smiled faintly and opened the fridge. A carton of milk, a half-eaten apple, and a foil-wrapped sandwich sat inside like lonely guests. "I wish Mama's piano was still here," Lily added. "Do you remember the song she used to play?" His hand stopped mid-reach. The silence that followed wasn't cold, it was hollow, "I remember," he said. "I tried to play it today." He turned, confused. "On what?" She led him to the corner of their small room. Taped to an overturned milk crate was a flattened cardboard box. On it, she'd drawn keys with a black crayon. "I play it in my head," she said. "It sounds better that way." Ray crouched, staring at her handmade keyboard. Something tightened in his throat. "You're incredible," he whispered. The ghost of her mother's music still lingered, waiting to be heard again. Rain still tapped at the window when morning broke. A gray kind of light filtered in, more shadow than sunshine. Ray sat at the kitchen table with a pen in one hand and a red notice in the other. "Final warning," it read. "Rent overdue again." He rubbed his forehead, staring at numbers that didn't add up. Even if he skipped dinner all week, they'd still fall short. Lily came out of the bathroom in mismatched socks, brushing her tangled hair. "Daddy, will I still go on the field trip?" He looked up, blinked. "When is it?" "Friday," she said. "We're going to the museum. They have a room full of old instruments." He tried to smile. "We'll see, baby." That answer always meant no. There was a knock. Ray stood and opened the door to face Mr. Pulaski, the landlord. Clipboard in hand and frown carved deep into his face. "You're 2 weeks behind," he said flatly. "I've been patient, Ray, but I've got bills too." "I'll have something by next Friday," Ray said. "Promise." Pulaski sighed, glanced inside at Lily, then lowered his voice. "You're a good man. But this building's not charity. You understand?" Ray nodded once. "Yeah, I understand." As the door closed, he slumped into the chair again. Lily peeked around the corner. "Daddy," he smiled. "Go finish your cereal, kiddo." She padded away, humming a song only she could hear. Ray waited until her hum faded, then buried his face in his hands. His shoulders trembled, quiet, restrained. Through the cracked door, Lily watched. She said nothing, but that night, she placed her cardboard piano beside his bed and wrote a note in crayon. "Don't give up. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy. Ray stood by the kitchen sink, rinsing the last plate when a memory slipped in soft. Uninvited, it wasn't loud or dramatic. It came the way old guilt does, quietly. A week earlier, he had sat in the hospital hallway after donating blood, still feeling lightheaded. The fluorescent lights flickered, humming faintly. A clipboard rested on his lap, papers asking for details: name, address, phone number. He'd stared at the form for a long moment. A nurse approached, gentle but firm. "We need your full name for our records." Ray had swallowed hard. Does it matter who gives? As long as it helps someone. She frowned. It's standard procedure. But he didn't want his name attached to anything. Not because he was hiding, because he didn't want gratitude. Didn't want attention. Didn't want the world to see how little he had to give. His wife used to say, "Real kindness is quiet." So he signed only 3 letters, RLD, later that day. As he walked out, an administrator glanced at the form with confusion. "Initials only?" She asked. Ray shrugged. "It's enough." She tapped the page. "Someone out there will live because of you." He didn't smile. Just nodded, pushed open the hospital door, and stepped back into the cold air where buses roared by and people rushed past without noticing him. Standing in the dim apartment, the corners of the room peeling. Ray dried his hands and stared at the cardboard piano Lily had left for him. He whispered to the empty room, "I hope it helped someone." Outside, thunder rolled again, soft, distant, and somewhere in the city, a file was being stamped, blood donor, unknown, initials only. The building was silent except for the distant hum of traffic. Afternoon, heat clung to the air, thick and still. Ray stood at the sink, scraping dried rice from a cracked plate, lost in thought. Outside, a car engine rumbled, a sound too smooth, too expensive for this neighborhood. Lily peeked through the curtain. "Daddy, someone fancy's outside." Ray wiped his hands on a dish towel, walked to the window, and froze. A black SUV, polished like glass, idled at the curb. Chrome rims, tinted windows, license plate to clean for a city this dusty. Then the back door opened. A woman stepped out, elegant, composed, like she belonged in a perfume ad. Her heels clicked on cracked pavement as she approached the gate. Her coat was cream-colored and didn't match the world around her. Ray opened the door slowly, wary. She didn't smile. Just met his eyes and said, "I'm looking for a man who saved my life." Ray blinked. "You've got the wrong address." "I don't think I do," she said softly. "A week ago, blood donor, no name, just initials." Lily hovered behind the door, holding the cardboard piano. Ray stepped out, heart pounding. "You came all the way here, for blood, for gratitude," she said, "and something else." Her eyes flicked down to Lily. The silence between them was thick with something unspoken. Then she reached into her bag and handed him a card. The logo shimmered faintly. Langford Industries. Ray looked from the card to the car. Then back to her. "I think," she said, voice steady, "you might want to come with me." And for the first time in a long time, Ray hesitated, because this time, the door wasn't closing, it was opening. Ray sat stiffly in the back seat of the SUV, his calloused hands resting on his knees. The leather smelled expensive. To clean, to new. He kept his eyes on the city, rolling past broken buildings, faded murals, lives tucked in corners. The woman didn't speak at first. She simply watched him, her hands folded neatly on her lap. Finally, she broke the silence. "I was in surgery when the call came in. They said there was no time to wait. Your blood saved me." Ray shifted. "I didn't do it for thanks." "I know," she said. "That's why I wanted to meet you." Looked at her. Up close, she didn't look untouchable. Her skin was pale, her eyes tired. There was something human behind the polish. "What's your name?" "Ray," he said quietly. "Ray Danner." She smiled gently. "I'm Evelyn Langford." The name echoed in his ears. Langford, like the towers downtown, the high-rises. The company stamped on bills he could barely pay. "Your husband?" Ray asked. "He runs Langford Industries." "Yes," she said, "and he's complicated." Ray frowned. "So why am I here?" Evelyn leaned in, voice lowered. "He doesn't know I'm doing this. He thinks I owe no one anything, but I do." Ray looked out the window again. They were climbing a hill now, toward glass and iron gates. "I don't want a handout," he murmured. "I'm not offering one," she said. Just a chance. To change everything, the car slowed before a sprawling estate with white stone columns. A man stood in the doorway, arms folded, eyes sharp. Ray's pulse quickened. Evelyn placed a gentle hand on his. "You gave me a second chance," she said. "Let me try to return it." The front doors opened before Ray even reached them, automated, soundless, like the world inside didn't creak or groan. He stepped into a foyer, lined with marble so white it hurt his eyes. A chandelier dripped from the ceiling like frozen stars. The air was cool, scented faintly with lavender and something older wealth. Ray's boots left muddy traces on the pristine tile. He noticed, paused, and wiped them awkwardly on the mat. Evelyn walked ahead, graceful and slow. Staff moved like shadows in the background, offering nods but no words. "This way," she said gently. They passed tall windows that reached the sky. Abstract art Ray couldn't make sense of, and furniture that looked more like sculpture than something you'd sit on. He caught his reflection in a mirror shirt, wrinkled, skin rough, hair flattened by the ride. He looked like he didn't belong, because he didn't. They reached the living room, where a man stood at the edge of a sunken lounge, broad-shouldered, silver at the temples, suit tailored sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes found Ray immediately. No smile, no nod, just quiet calculation. "This is my husband, Charles," Evelyn said. Ray extended a hand. Charles didn't take it. Instead, he said, "You gave blood, a stranger's blood, and now you're here in my home." Ray slowly lowered his hand. "Didn't expect to be." Charles turned away. "People like you don't usually make it past the gate." The insult stung, but Ray didn't flinch. He'd faced eviction, hunger, loss. This man's cold words were just another winter dot from the mezzanine above. A young girl peeked through the rails. Ray glanced up and caught her watching him, and somewhere behind him, Evelyn whispered, "Just listen to what he says." Charles Langford moved like the room bent around him. He circled the living space slowly, hands clasped behind his back. Voice low and unreadable. "I run a company of 2,000 employees," he began, "but I remember every name on my top floor." Ray stayed standing. He didn't ask to sit. "I didn't come for a job," he said. Charles half smirked. "No, you came because my wife insisted." Evelyn stood quietly near the doorway, watching with careful eyes. "My blood saved her life," Ray said. "That's all there is to it." "But it's not," Charles replied, "because now you're part of a story. And I don't like loose ends in stories." Ray stiffened. "So what do you want?" Charles turned to him, face unreadable. "You'll work for me, starting Monday. Janitorial staff at corporate HQ, night shift." Ray blinked. "You're offering me a mop. I'm offering you employment. A stable wage, benefits." Ray's jaw clenched. "Because I gave blood. Because my wife believes in second chances," Charles said. "And because I like debts balanced." Evelyn stepped forward. "It's honest work, Ray, and it's more than what you have now." Ray looked down at his hands, cracked rough, stained with years of labor. He nodded once. "I'll work, but not for charity." Charles narrowed his eyes. "Then don't wear that." Ray looked at his threadbare shirt. "Show up in a uniform," Charles said. "Not in this suit of failure." Ray didn't flinch, just met his gaze. "I'll show up, but I'll wear what dignity I've got left." Evelyn's breath caught softly. "See you Monday, Mr. Danner." And just like that, the conversation ended, leaving behind a job offer wrapped in power and pride. The elevator dinged on the 28th floor. Ray stepped out, mop bucket in hand, fluorescent lights humming above. The halls of Langford Industries gleamed, marble floors so polished they mirrored the ceiling, glass walls to clean to trust. Every surface whispered, "You don't belong here." His boots squeaked against the shine. It was past midnight. Most lights were off, except the ones that mattered, those above the executive offices. He filled his bucket from a utility sink tucked behind a steel door. The water steamed, rising into his face as he pushed the mop forward. He caught his reflection in the window's same tired face, same calloused grip. But something had shifted. He wasn't here begging. He was earning. A young associate passed him, Bluetooth in one ear, latte in hand. Didn't even glance at Ray. Another one muttered, "Wish the cleaning guys would be less visible." Ray didn't answer, just kept mopping. Long, patient strokes. Quiet dignity. On the wall above him, a giant photo showed Charles Langford shaking hands with city officials. All teeth and triumph. Ray looked up at it. Then, back down at the scuffed tile below the frame, he scrubbed harder. By 3 a.m., the building was hushed. He stepped outside to the loading dock, where his shift ended. A small figure stood under the flickering streetlight, cardboard box in hand. Lily, barefoot. She ran to him, arms wide. "I didn't want to sleep till you got back." Ray crouched, scooped her up, and held her tight. "You didn't wear shoes," he whispered. She shook her head, sleepy smiles spreading. "I made a new song. Want to hear it?" His throat tightened. "Yes," he said. "Sing it all the way home." And they walked music and silence, sharing the night. Langford Tower glowed golden against the night sky, its glass walls glittering like a cathedral of money. Ray pushed the mop cart down a silent corridor, the wheels humming a lullaby only the overworked would know. He moved through the executive lounge place to quiet, to perfect. Floor-length curtains hung untouched. A silver tray of untouched fruit sat beneath a chandelier shaped like falling icicles. Then he heard it, music, soft, tentative, floating like memory through the air. He froze. A piano. He followed the sound until he reached a room behind glass. Not just any piano grand, black, regal. It looked like it could play itself. A young girl sat at the keys, blonde hair, bare feet, eyes half closed, fingers unsure but dreaming. Ray leaned closer. The melody wasn't polished, but it was familiar, note by note. It matched what Lily hummed every night. His breath caught. The girl paused mid-song and looked toward. The window like she sensed she was being watched. Ray stepped back. She tilted her head, studying him like a curious cat. No fear, just curiosity. Before he could turn away, Charles appeared behind the girl, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. His gaze locked with Ray's through the glass. Ray straightened his posture. Didn't look away. Charles didn't wave, didn't nod, just stared, as if reminding him where the walls were. The girl turned back to the piano and played again. Ray backed away slowly, the tune following him like a ghost down the hall in his mind. He saw Lily's cardboard keys, and for the first time, he realized she wasn't just pretending, she was remembering, and someone had stolen her song. The invitation came in a white envelope, no name, no return address, just slid beneath their apartment door like a whisper. Inside, dinner, 7 p.m. Friday, dress respectfully. Bring Lily. Ray turned the card over in his hand a dozen times before folding it into his back pocket. Lily was coloring her cardboard piano again, adding swirls with a pink crayon. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly. "How'd you like to eat dinner somewhere fancy?" She looked up. "Like, where the spoons match," he chuckled. "Exactly like that." Friday arrived with nerves. Ray borrowed a blazer from his neighbor, 3 sizes too wide. Lily wore her mother's scarf as a belt, tied proudly over a thrifted dress she'd outgrown last year. Langford Manor opened to them again, lit golden against the dusk. Inside, a long dining table glittered with crystal and silence. Charles sat at the head, stiff as stone. Evelyn offered warm smiles, motioning for them to sit. Lily's eyes widened at the shining silverware. "Are we allowed to touch stuff?" she whispered. Evelyn laughed gently. "You're the guest of honor." Midway through dinner, a pause settled like snowfall. Evelyn leaned forward. "Lily, do you still play music?" Lily nodded. "Only in my head." Evelyn turned to Charles. "Perhaps she could try the Steinway." Ray stiffened. "She doesn't have to." But Lily was already rising. "Can I, Daddy?" "Please." Ray hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. She approached the grand piano in the next room like it was a sleeping dragon. Then her fingers' tentative trembling pressed a key. The melody spilled out, untrained, imperfect. But hers. Charles watched in stunned silence. His daughter, the same girl Ray had seen, peered in from the stairs. And for a brief, breathless moment, the walls between two worlds trembled. The following Monday, Ray found something odd on the kitchen table, a small black square, blinking red. He picked it up slowly, heart drumming. It wasn't Lily's, it wasn't his, a hidden camera. He turned it over, and something inside him cracked. In the corner of the lens was a tiny sticker: Langford, security. His grip tightened. He called Evelyn. She didn't answer. He didn't wait. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Ray marched through the double-glass doors of Langford Tower Knot as a janitor. But as a father with fire in his veins, the lobby guards rose, startled. He didn't flinch. "Tell Charles Langford, I'm coming up," he said. 20 floors later, he stood in Charles' office mutely, slicing through the floor 2 ceiling windows. Charles sipped scotch by the shelf, perfectly calm. "You put a camera in my home," Ray said. Voice low, shaking Dot. Charles didn't deny it. "For security." Evelyn insisted on the apartment. "I insisted on protection." "You watched my daughter," Ray growled. "You invaded our lives. I invested in you." "I needed to know you were stable. I'm not your investment," Ray snapped. "I'm a man, a father." Charles turned, lips curling. "You were a mop. I gave you Polish." Ray stepped forward and, without warning, threw a puncher past, furious. Charles hit the floor with a thud. Scott shattering beside him, the room fell silent. Ray stood over him, breathing heavy. "I cleaned your floors," he whispered, "not your conscience." He turned and walked out. Alarms didn't go off. No one chased him, but by morning, a letter arrived at his door, terminated, effective immediately, and just like that, everything slipped away. Rain returned like a punishment. Thick, relentless, cold. Ray sat on the floor of their apartment. Back against the wall, a single box of their belongings beside him. The eviction notice was taped to the door loud. Read, "Final." Lily hugged her stuffed rabbit tight, its ears frayed from years of being loved too hard. "Are we moving again?" she asked. Ray nodded, but couldn't speak. His voice had dried up days ago. The news had already spread. Janitor Punch's CEO. Blogs ran with it. Social media mocked it. The footage from a security cam had leaked blurry but damning. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. Parents at Lily's school whispered behind coffee cups. Pulaski, the landlord, was the only one who looked him in the eye as he handed over the envelope. "You're a good father," he said quietly, "but I can't take the heat from the building manager. I'm sorry." Ray didn't blame him. That night, they left with 1 bag each and a backpack of Lily's drawings. The city didn't care. The rain didn't stop. They found shelter beneath the covered bench outside the hospital. The same one Ray had passed every day on his way to donate blood. He laid down his jacket so Lily wouldn't have to touch the metal. "Is this a sleepover?" she whispered. Ray pulled her close. "Yeah, just a weird one." She nodded, trusting him. Always trusting. Across the street, Langford Tower glowed like a lighthouse for the rich gent. Touched UNBOTHERED. Ray stared at it for a long time. He had no job, no home, no name anyone cared about. But in his arms, Lily shivered and pressed closer, and somehow, holding her was still enough to keep him breathing. The school auditorium buzzed with excitement. Kids in pressed shirts held sheet music. Parents clutched, phones ready to record, and paper programs fluttered like wings. Backstage, Lily sat on a wooden bench, legs swinging nervously, her fingers running over the tiny keyboard of a toy piano she'd brought from a donation box. Ray peeked through the curtain. Heart full. She had practiced every day even on concrete, even in silence. Her name was listed 3rd on the program. Lily Danner, original piece. He felt like he might cry just reading it. But then whispers started. A teacher approached, nervous, apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Danner. We have to cut Lily from the performance." Ray blinked. "What?" "Someone from the district. They flagged her name. Something about media attention. It's not safe for the school." "She's 7, he said, barely holding it together. "She just wants to play." "I know, but the decision's made." Lily was packing her tiny piano without a word. Ray knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, it's okay," she whispered. "Maybe another time." They left before intermission. That night, Ray took Lily to the subway tunnel, where musicians played for coins and strangers. She stood on an overturned milk crate toy piano on her lap. Ray stood beside her with a cardboard sign. She wrote this song herself. People walked by, some stopped, a few smiled. A little girl in a world too loud, too cruel, playing music that didn't ask for permission. Someone filmed by morning, the video had gone viral. A caption read, Homeless girl plays haunting melody in NYC subway. Who is she? Ray didn't care about the views. He only watched her smile as her song echoed off concrete walls. 3 days. Later, Ray sat beside Lily on a park bench, wrapped in a donated blanket, sipping watered-down hot cocoa from a paper cup. A courier in a black suit approached silent, stiff. He handed Ray a crisp white envelope, then left without a word. Ray opened it slowly. Inside was a folded letter, hand-signed in delicate ink. Ray, I watched the video. I saw your daughter, and I saw the injustice we caused. I can't undo what my husband did, but I can speak for myself. You gave me life when you didn't even know my name. We repaid you with shame. I'm sorry, please accept this scholarship fund in Lily's name. It has no strings, no cameras, no conditions. A school has already agreed to take HERF. You'll allow it. Enclosed are the details. She deserves keys made of ivory, not cardboard, and you deserve peace. As he unfolded the second page, a formal letter from the Branford Conservatory of Music, offering Lily a full tuition scholarship, housing, and mentorship. Lily leaned over. What is it, Daddy? He didn't answer. He was crying, not from pain, from release. He showed her the school's photo-bright halls. Real pianos, kids with headphones, and music sheets. Her eyes lit up like sunrise. Can we go? He nodded slowly, wiping his face with his sleeve. Yes, baby, we're going. She wrapped her arms around his neck, giggling into his ear. In the corner of the envelope, a donation slip was folded gently, a sum too large to speak of, but Ray tucked it away. He hadn't asked for riches. He just wanted his daughter to be heard. And now, the world was listening. The hall was silent. So silent, it felt like breath had been held across every row. Rows of velvet seats stretched beneath golden balconies. Chandeliers shimmered overhead, catching every heartbeat in crystal light. Ray sat in the front row, suit pressed, hands clasped, Lily's drawing folded in his jacket pocket. His eyes scanned the stage and stopped on her. Lily stood beneath the spotlight in a simple white dress, her hair braided neatly down her back. She wasn't nervous, she wasn't small. She was ready that the grand piano waited behind her like an old friend. From the wings, Evelyn watched with her hands over her heart, somewhere high above. Charles stood alone in a darkened balcony expression, unreadable. Lily sat on the bench, legs swinging slightly. She adjusted the seat herself, just like they practiced. Ray's chest rose with quiet pride. Then, she played no fanfare, no announcement, just the first note soft, uncertain, then steady. The melody that had lived on cardboard, that had echoed in subway tunnels, that had been silenced backstage. Now it rang out in a hall built for the elite. The room leaned in, heads tilted, eyes closed. It wasn't perfect, but it was pure. Ray's vision blurred. He wasn't hearing music. He was hearing her. The room thundered when she finished, but Lily looked only at her father. She bowed, then ran straight into his arms. Did I mess up? She whispered. He kissed her forehead. You changed everything. From the back, a young reporter scribbled furiously, Homeless girl stuns elite concert hall with original composition. But Ray didn't care for headlines. He closed his eyes, arms around his daughter, and for the first time in years, he smiled.